What's going on, guys? Rob here with RK Motorsports, and behind me we have a wrecked 2005 Kawasaki Ninja 636 that we're going to be going through and fixing back up. So right here is the Ninja 636 sitting over here. It's been sitting here for a little bit. We've been waiting on some parts to come in. We've got all of our parts right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna move this thing out of the way. We're gonna get this over to the lift, and then we're gonna go over the bike and kind of see what the damage is and what we need to do to this Ninja 636. All right, so we've got the bike on the lift now. Now, real quick, I just want to kind of give you guys the history on this bike. This bike has been giving me a gigantic pain in the ass for the last 1.5 years. Yeah, that's right, 1.5 years I've had this bike. So basically, a customer reached out to me. He was like, hey, you know, I see you do these bike rebuilds. I'd be interested in getting my bike rebuilt by you. I'm like, sure, no problem. So I go there, check the bike out. He says, hey, you know, this bike is having a bad second gear issue. You know, the transmission's kind of messed up. And I told him that, you know, that's not something that I necessarily have the ability to do, but I know a guy that can do the motor work, and we should be able to figure this out and get them all straightened out. So I take the bike back to my shop, and, you know, a couple weeks go by and I get in touch with this guy that does the motor work. And this guy had a really good reputation, you know, a few years ago, and I've taken, you know, my vehicles to him. I know that he's done really good work in the past, you know, taking motors apart, rebuilding them, whatnot. Unfortunately, you know, this guy just went really downhill, and he ended up just not responding to me at all. Like, he went 6 months without saying a word to me. I'd reach out, I'd be like, yo, like, give me an update, text, nothing. It got to the point where, you know, I had to try and get the police involved. He just was not having it. He basically just did not talk to me for like a year. So fast forward to a few months ago, myself and the owner ended up going to the guy's house. We ended up getting the bike back. Amazingly, the bike has been finished as far as I know. The motor work has been done, the new transmission's in there. The bike is all back together. So essentially, I've been sitting on this bike for like 1.5 years. I'm sorry I'm dragging this first part of the video out so long, but I just kind of want to give you guys a backstory on this bike and kind of where this has been. And this bike has been giving me nothing but gray hairs for like the last 1.5 years. So we've got the bike here, we've got pretty much all the parts. Now let's dive in and let's see what is wrong with this bike and what we have to do to get it fixed back up. So when the owner of the bike originally reached out to me, he said, hey, you know, I wrecked the bike. There was some fairing damage. Obviously the fairings are off the bike right now. We do have the original fairings over here. These have already been removed. These were removed when that guy had to do the motor work on the bike. So these are already off the bike, so we can kind of get a better idea of what the underside is looking at. We've got, you know, the tank. The tank, surprisingly, is undamaged. The tail, really no damage back there. You know, tail lights flip-flopping around. You know, that's pretty common on these 636s. Little scraping here, but a lot of the damage was sustained to the front of the bike. Now right here, we've got our front ram air duct. Now this part right here, it's kind of like the air intake for the 636 right here. And it's pretty common on a lot of the Kawasaki's. This is just like a plastic piece right here. And these little brackets with the nuts go right through here, and this plastic piece is real thin, and these tend to break a lot if there's some front end damage to these bikes. So we do have a new front piece right there that the customer ended up supplying. We've got that right in there. Brand new OEM part from Kawasaki. So that's one of the main things that we're gonna have to address. The front headlight honestly doesn't look that bad. I think we're gonna be able to reuse this. Looks like a lot of the tabs are still intact too. We do have the cover for the headlight here. So this headlight, yeah, all these tabs are intact, so we can reuse this headlight. Looks like the front fairings stay. This is in pretty good shape. So really, this ram air duct is one of our main concerns for the front of this bike. And along with, you know, getting the fairings on and the side fairings and all that, obviously we're gonna have to remove the tank and redo the front fairings here and take the tail off, and we're gonna have to redo that fairing. There's a bunch of other little things here, like we've got the passenger peg is held on with a rubber band. I've never seen that before, but we have a rubber band. Nice little return thing right there. And we've got a long bolt. That is definitely incorrect. We're gonna rip that off, get some new stuff on there. I think I actually ordered some new passenger pegs, so we're gonna replace that. And the one over here is black, you know, totally different colors, but we're gonna replace these with some new passenger pegs. We're gonna get that looking nice. Another thing that I noticed that we need to address is the chain adjuster bolts that are right here in the swing arm. When the guy that did the motor work had to take the chain off the bike in order to drop the motor and do the motor work, he went back and he was trying to reinstall everything, and he ended up snapping the chain adjuster bolt. So I hope this isn't going to be a giant pain to get this thing out. We might have to drill and tap that and get that out. So that might be a little difficult for us. And another thing that I noticed, the master link we have right here is really kind of janky, and I think a couple of those links right here in the chain, I think there's a couple rollers that are missing from that chain, so we might need to install a new chain as well. We will get around to that once we get those chain adjuster bolts removed and new ones installed there. And as far as everything else, I think this bike is going to go fairly quick. There's really just the main things, you know, the headlight, the front end, the passenger pegs, and that chain and those adjuster bolts are really the main things that we need to do on this bike. So what we can start doing is we can start taking some of this stuff off, and we can start getting some new parts on. So we got that rear wheel removed, and you can see right here, there's our chain adjuster bolt that snapped off. Now if we look on the other side, this is what it's supposed to look like. You know, this main bolt right here is threaded into the swing arm. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I can't heat this up and try and get some way, maybe some vice grips, to see if we can't back that out. All right, so I tried a few things on this. Unfortunately, it is stuck and it's not budging right now. I sprayed a little penetrating fluid on here, some PB Blaster, so I'm gonna try and let that soak. And in the meantime, what I can do is I'm gonna take the tank and the tail fairing off so we can start getting those removed so we can get ready for those new fairings. Alright, so as you can see from all these little metal shavings on the ground and inside the swing arm here, we were able to drill out and then tap some new threads into here. So we were able to get that done, and this is actually the bolt from the other side of the swing arm. I just wanted to get that threaded in there just to make sure that everything fits securely, and it does. So we have that all set. Another thing that I do need to address on this bike is the coolant reservoir. There is a slight leak right here. The coolant reservoir is cracked, and we do need to address that. I do have a new one, OEM one that I ordered, so we're gonna swap that out. And I did notice that the fork seals are starting to go. There's a real slight amount of oil that's accumulating on the front forks on both sides. It's very minute, but I know it's only going to get worse from there. So we will be doing the front fork rebuild on the front forks on this bike as well. So as of right now, we've got the bike completely stripped down. In the next episode, we will be installing those new parts, the coolant reservoir, and rebuilding those new front forks. And by then, we should have this bike completely finished. If you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.